Nature built a desert. China built a comeback. Hello everyone, welcome back. Imagine a place where sand dunes rise like 20-story skyscrapers. Massive, ever-shifting waves that swallow roads, farms, even entire villages. A place so relentless, entire communities were once forced to pack up and leave everything behind. That place is the Kabuki Desert in northern China. Twice the size of Shanghai, once called a death zone for crops, animals, and hope. And yet somehow China did the unthinkable. They turned part of that brutal desert into a green oasis. Deserts cover more than a quarter of China's entire land area. And as climate change accelerates desertification worldwide, China's deserts aren't just sitting still, they're marching forward. In Kabuki alone, 60% of the dunes are mobile. Massive, fast-moving walls of sand that shift with the wind and destroy everything in their path. And for centuries, the story never changed. When the desert advances, people retreat. But then, China pushed back. Here's the twist. Most people think sandstorms come from deserts. But that's not quite true. The most dangerous dust storms, the ones that darken skies and choke cities hundreds of miles away, don't start in the heart of deserts. They begin in dry lake beds, abandoned farmland, and overgrazed plains, where the soil is powder-fine, bone-dry, and just waiting to take flight. And when strong winds come, it's not sand that flies, it's ultra-fine yellow dust, so light it can drift for thousands of miles. Once the wind strips that fertile topsoil away, it's gone for good. What's left behind? Just sand. In other words, it's not the desert that makes the dust. Dust makes the desert. Over thousands of years, these storms slowly erased the land's ability to grow. 3,000 years ago, parts of Kabuki were green and full of life. But by 400 years ago, all that remained was cracked earth and sand. So, China decided to fight back. Not with machines, not with chemicals, but with something surprisingly simple. Plants. But that was just the beginning. In the next chapter, you'll meet their secret weapon. A sand-eating monster and a wind-blocking tech that tames the desert. Since the 1950s, the government has poured resources into reforestation and anti-desertification efforts. And over the last 30 years, they've regreened more than 3,200 square kilometers of the Kabuki Desert. Planting drought-resistant grass, shrubs, and trees designed to hold the soil, slow the wind, and rebuild the land. The result? A once-dead zone now buzzing with life. A desert now interrupted by green corridors, grazing lands, and even solar farms. It's not perfect, and it's not finished, but it's working. For centuries, turning a desert into farmland was a fantasy. The land was too dry, the sand too stubborn, and the science practically non-existent. But now, scientists are flipping the script by starting not with the desert, but with its weaker spots. Dried-up salt lakes and abandoned farmland, places where the battle is tough, but winnable. Take Minqin County, for example. A lonely strip of land caught between two of China's most brutal deserts, the Barren and the Tengger. At the heart of it once stood Chingu Lake, a shimmering giant, once nearly the size of Lake Qinghai, China's largest lake at over 4,300 kilometers. But that was long ago. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, Qingtu had already shrunk to just 400 kilometers. By the 1940s, 70 kilometers, and by the end of the 1950s, gone completely dry. By the 1970s, Chingu Lake was erased from maps, replaced by a 13-kilometer stretch of shifting sand. It became the largest sandstorm gateway into Minqin County, a monster made of dust and wind. So what did China do? They fought back, not with dreams, but with engineering. Scientists began restoring Chingu Lake, even rerouting water from the Yellow River to bring it back to life. And it worked. Today, where there was once only desert wind and dry silence, there is now a 106 square kilometer wetland. Birds have returned. So has vegetation. And more importantly, the lake's revival has stopped the two deserts from merging into one giant sea of sand. This isn't just about saving a lake. It's about reclaiming the land, one drop at a time. The battle to reclaim Kabuki Desert followed the same strategy. Don't fight the whole beast. Start with the cracks in its armor. Spanning over 18,600 square kilometers, Kabuki was once known as the Dead Sea of northern China, a swirling furnace of sandstorms and wind-blasted wastelands. Just 500 miles west of Beijing, it used to be a top source of sandstorms that choked the capital. In the 1950s and 60s, life here was brutal. The wind blew sand through the air for 300 days a year. Grains of sand ended up in your food, in your bed, even in your lungs. Getting sick meant walking for miles to find help, and even building a single house could take up to 3 years, hauling materials in by horse or camel. So the Chinese government said enough. By the 1960s and 70s, they launched a massive greening campaign. They didn't just plant trees. They built a 250-kilometer canal from the Yellow River, bringing precious water straight into the desert. Then came the real work, planting drought-resistant grass and shrubs to lock the sand in place, using wind turbines and solar panels to generate clean energy and shade the ground, keeping more moisture in the soil, gradually turning the sand into soil and the soil into farmland. And today, 1/3 of Kabuki, nearly 6,500 square kilometers, has been reclaimed. Now, it's not just a place where people survive. It's a place where they farm, raise livestock, and even export clean energy. To fight something as relentless as the desert, China built a monster of its own. Not one that destroys, but one that restores. In 2016, Chinese scientists unveiled a beast nicknamed the Sandeing Monster. It's not a metaphor. It's a massive, all-in-one autonomous vehicle designed to fight desertification on an industrial scale. This machine can plant 2,000 seedlings per hour, clear 2,860 square meters of scrub per hour, spray herbicide or nutrients over 0.61 hectares per hour, and anchor sand in 3 dimensions, keeping it from blowing away. Its job? Stabilizing sand dunes, planting vegetation, and bringing life back to the Gobi and beyond. But machines aren't the only secret weapon. Enter the web of straw. A scientist named Yu Yi developed a new kind of PLA-based straw barrier, a massive biodegradable net laid across the sand like a giant spider web. Unlike old methods, this one is eco-friendly, easy to mass-produce, and designed to hold the ground long enough for roots to take hold. Think of it as laying the first bricks for a forest. China thinks big, and scale matters. China has already deployed over 3,100 kilometers of these sand-blocking barriers. And the results? By 2022, the average dune height in Kabuki had dropped by half. More than 6,000 kilometers of desert have been rehabilitated, and over 3,200 kilometers regreened, meaning a full 1/3 of the desert is now back from the brink. And this isn't just about saving the land, it's about saving lives. Kabuki used to be one of the top 3 sources of sandstorms choking Beijing. Now it's home to solar farms, livestock pastures, and even eco-tourism villages. Besides tourism, the scorching sun here is no longer a threat. It's now a priceless resource. Giant solar energy projects have turned China's deserts from dead lands into clean power bases. Solar panels on top, crops underneath, and livestock roaming in between. The solar panels act like massive umbrellas, cutting surface temperatures by nearly 10 degrees and reducing water evaporation by 40%. Thanks to this cooler, shadier ground, plants can now grow even under the desert sun. And China isn't stopping there. In the coming decades, the government plans to install a great wall of solar panels across the Kabuki Desert, stretching 400 kilometers long and 5 km wide with a total capacity of 100 gigawatts. That's over 3 times more than what the United States is currently building nationwide. The results are mind-blowing. Back in 2002, forest coverage in the desert was just 0.8%. By 2021, it jumped to 15.7%. As for vegetation coverage, from 16.2% to a whopping 53%, more than half the desert now shows signs of life. Although the Kabuki Desert hasn't fully disappeared like the Mu'uz Desert, it's well on its way to becoming the second desert in China to vanish. Today, Kabuki has even become a major food-producing region in Inner Mongolia. The number of local plant and animal species has increased 10 times. Over 100 species once extinct in this area, like swans, wild rabbits, and desert poplars, have come back. Not only that, but people have started using the desert to grow medicinal licorice, a valuable herb in Chinese medicine. The licorice farms now cover about 362,000 acres, forming a pollution-free, pesticide-free zone for herbal medicine production. Once a barren desert, Kabuki is now breathing life. Across over 1 million acres of former wasteland, rich black soil has come back, locking in more than 24 billion cubic meters of water. The vegetation planted here now produces over 18.3 million tons of oxygen every year. And yes, they even built a 60-square-kilometer wetland in the desert to farm crabs. Thanks to decades of relentless effort, the region has seen sandstorm days dropped from 60 a year to just 3 to 5 days. Annual rainfall rise from under 70 millimeters to over 300 millimeters. Clear skies return to northern China. Villages that once struggled to survive are now tourist destinations. The once shifting dunes of Kabuki are now held in place by a 240-kilometer sand barrier at the desert's heart. Kabuki has become a global role model, a brand in itself, for how to reverse desertification. In 2014, the United Nations named Kabuki a global desert eco-economy demonstration zone, proof that with vision, patience, and science, even the harshest landscapes can heal. Its success is now being replicated in places like Ethiopia, Kenya, Ghana, Pakistan, and even Kazakhstan. If you think this is an amazing achievement, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories from around the world.